Hello and welcome to Editor's Take. The rupee had yet another very bad day in the markets today, and at one point it touched 69 to a dollar. To discuss what happened in the markets today, as well as what the future policy challenges are as far as the rupee is concerned, I have with me Tamal Bandyopadhyay, who is our Deputy Managing Editor. So Tamal, can you first take us through what the rupee's movements today were and what were the concerns in the currency trading rooms?
Well, it's the same old story. In the past few days, whatever we had seen, the same story. We are just, one needs to calculate: is it an 18-year low or 20-year low in terms of the daily how much we have lost? In both in absolute term or as well as in percentage term. But yet it's yet another new low, and it's inching towards 70 per dollar. That's the kind of level the market is talking about. Exporters are sitting on the sidelines. They are not bringing in the export proceeds. Importers are rushing for cover because the outlook on rupee, even though there's a CRISIL had said 62, it thinks in sometime next calendar year rupee would be moving towards that, meaning getting further strengthened. But I don't think market is convinced. On the RER basis, rupee is quite a bit undervalued. In fact, our finance minister, Mr. Chidambaram, also mentioned that rupee is undervalued. But I don't think the market is in a mood to listen either to Reserve Bank of India or the finance ministry.
So indeed, the RER values do suggest that the rupee is undervalued, and the 36 country RER, I suppose, and the finance minister has been trying to placate the market, so to say. Do you think we are in a free fall, that things have spun out of control? Because the momentum of fall is in fact picking up, means the pace at which the rupee is dropping is almost alarming now.
Yes.
So do you think that there is worse ahead? What's your guess? I know it's always difficult to predict what happens in the currency markets, but you think this is sort of a free fall situation?
So one thing is for sure, there is a total lack of confidence. This market is not convinced by whatever the finance minister says or whatever the Reserve Bank of India has been able to communicate. So that's for sure. If that means further pain ahead and rupee will fall further, yes, that will. And in some sense, Reserve Bank of India has given up. Since June, RBI has been taken a series of measures. Some of them are half-hearted, some of them got reversed. But finally, what it did, its infusion of liquidity, the so-called the Operation Twist, where it said yes, it will continue to buy short-term bills, but will infuse money through the sale of long-term bonds. Because it says, quote unquote, that the purpose for which the tightening of norms were announced have been achieved. Now the question is, what was the purpose? Was the purpose to jack up the short-term rates, or was the purpose to arrest the fall of rupee by hitting the speculators? Now, if the purpose was jacking up the short-term rates in isolation, yes, it has served the purpose. But if the ultimate purpose was to arrest the fall of rupee, that has not been achieved, and Reserve Bank of India has given up. Yes, it is in the market in terms of intervention, so-called intervention by selling dollars, meeting the demand. But beyond that, RBI has stopped talking, and also it's not taken any measures. So this is a situation where regulator is silent, where government has been on an overdrive to announce certain things every day to convince the market, but wide current account deficit is staring at us. Fiscal deficit, now there is every possibility we will not be able to achieve because of the food securities bill. So the twin deficit is staring at us, and market has lost complete confidence.
So what you're saying is there is a credibility problem, that the interventions by the authorities, either direct interventions as what the RBI is doing, or in a way statements from the finance ministry, they're not credible for the markets, and therefore they are sort of making their own bets quite aside from what the establishment is telling them.
Yes.
That's your point.
Yes. And one fallout is this inflation, which we already saw in the July numbers, that the rupee depreciation actually had some kind of effect. But at the depreciation, as the depreciation is becoming far more rapid now, we'll see inflation was inching up much faster than we initially thought. Indeed, the original discussion at some level was that inflation will, with some level it will plateau in September, and beyond that it would inch up. But now I think that's gone now. From July onward it started inching up. So apart from the twin deficit, the other problem before the Reserve Bank of India is of course very high inflation, which is a fallout of the rupee.
So next week we see the change of guard at the Reserve Bank of India, right? Raghuram Rajan will take over on the 5th, I think. What do you think? Means obviously this is a trial by fire for him. Means he's going to step into a deeply messy situation. But do you think that his coming will placate the markets or calm the markets in any way, or will they, will they take a look at what he actually does before responding?
Well, I guess market is desperately looking for, at this point of time, the market is desperately looking for some cues from the Reserve Bank of India, because RBI has been silent. It's not been saying anything. Dr. Subbarao is silent because he's now exiting, and the new governor has not yet, the coming governor has not yet taken over. So I think market will definitely look for certain cues to make its mind which way to go. One of the possible actions could be, which the incoming governor is not averse to, the idea of a quasi-sovereign, proxy-sovereign bond. I think if that announcement comes, that will be the silver bullet, and which will turn to some extent will help the sentiment to turn to change the sentiment.
There was also some talk about negotiating swap lines with trading partners,
with other central banks.
So perhaps.
So either of them needs to.
So some sort of backstop to the rupee, in a sense, of liquidity lines or a sovereign bond could turn the tide, you think?
Yeah, my understanding is this: the current 270 billion level that we have in the foreign exchange reserve, that does not entitle us for an IMF line. So the option before us is some kind of swap arrangements with the other central banks, which India has already. One existing arrangement is there. So more such arrangements will be one sort of backstop facility. Another option, of course, could be big bang or medium term sovereign bonds, quasi-sovereign bonds, because the Chidambaram's idea of public sector undertakings going and borrowing overseas, it's very hard to work out because of the cost factor. So RBI needs to directly do certain other things to tell the market.
Thank you, Tamal. So that was Tamal. He makes some very important points. He's saying that the markets do not see government actions or government statements as being very credible. Therefore, the pace at which the rupee is declining has not abated the selling pressure on the rupee. The second thing he says is that if the rupee does go into a free fall from here, you could be facing an inflation problem a few months down the line, and that has a completely different set of challenges for policy authorities. And third, he says is that next week, when the change of guard at the RBI happens, we could see some movement on issues such as the issue of a sovereign bond and further progress on negotiating swap lines with foreign central banks, which could help stabilize market expectations about the rupee. That's it for now on Editor's Take.